Okay, call a meeting to order. We'll do our roll call. Carolyn Hobson is not here. Eleanor Hassenbeck.
Here.
Anna Murphy.
Here.
Carrie Wiesen.
Here.
Michael Brennan.
Here.
Callie West, not here. Cloud Clark, not here. Casey Grace, not here. Keith Knoll.
Here.
There you are. All right. So we have 2 sets of minutes to approve from previous meetings. So first set is April 1st meeting. Did anyone get a chance to look those over?
I appreciated Michael's edits. Thank you, Michael.
No problem.
Got our edits taken care of. Anything else that we need to adjust on there? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All right. And then we have the meetings from the May 6th meeting. I was not in attendance at the meeting, so did anyone have a chance to look those over and have any recommendations, changes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All right. Minutes are approved from April 1st and May 6th. And then we have public comment of non-discussion items. Do we have anybody here for non-discussion items? All right.
Yep. Well,
Sarah had the same question I had.
it's right on that jagged edge.
Okay.
You can stop me if you want.
All right.
I'm Butch Hawes, live at 236 East Highway 56, better known as Newell Farm Park. And what I would like to ask is, it's been 3.5 years since the town bought the property and made it their newest town park. And what we would like to have is a sign on the property that says future home of Newell Farm Park. We drive down the Berthoud Parkway, we see a beautiful sign there at Richardson, and it's very impressive. And it would be nice to have one at our place as well. And on August 30th, we will have 500 ravenous fans in our place that are spending their children's inheritance to attend our show. So as a goodwill gesture, it would be nice if we had a sign up by then. But if you could do something to, make a motion or mention to the trustees that would be a great idea. If you think it's a great idea, we do.
Okay.
And that's about it. Other than that, Sarah and I just want to thank you guys for everything you do, and what you do here is so important to our quality of life in this valley. And I know it goes unthanked a lot, but it doesn't escape our purview. So thank you so much, and that's it.
Thank you.
Can we follow up on that?
Sure. You have
I'd like to make a motion to add a sign at Newell Farm Park. I know what you're talking about, the Richardson one's huge
Future
and
home.
great, and I'm actually kind of surprised we don't have one at Newell, so I'll make a motion to recommend to the board to have a sign at Newell Farm Park.
I will happily second that.
I'm supportive of the motion, but I do have a question. Is it like in the works or anything, or is there a plan for a sign or any?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to ask for a sign at Newell Farm Park. That's what we would recommend.
Yep, to recommend that the board consider.
All right.
Wait, should we add the date though?
So you're going to mention that meeting? Or
Oh, I think we need to go down.
I don't think we can mention a
Okay.
date yet because I don't think we have a date.
Yeah, we don't.
Yet.
Go down the row and
I would say as soon as possible, just to
yeah.
emphasize it.
Well, I mean like a date. Don't put a date. You know how like they would say coming soon.
Oh, I mean,
27.
yeah.
I thought that's what
I
you
thought-
meant.
No, yeah, I'm on the same.
I
I'm
meant
like,
get
oh,
that
I
thing
thought
up
you
as
meant-
soon as you can.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Completion
by
date.
the by the farm concert.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why I was like,
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
think the Richardson
Yeah.
one just says future home of.
yeah.
There's no timeline.
Oh, okay.
attached to
That's
it.
what I was like. I don't
Yeah.
want to put like a completion date on it.
No.
I mean, we can vote on it. I think everybody seems. Carrie, are you in favor?
Yes.
In favor? I would be in favor.
I'm in favor.
Yep.
Okay. We would recommend that.
Hmm.
Okay. Noted. Any other public comment on non-discussion items? Okay, we can move on to discussion items. Newell Farm Park conceptual design.
I got it. Thank
So,
you.
really quickly for the port committee, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this conversation. So, what I would like for you all to do to make sure that your thoughts, opinions, and recommendations are carried forward is to write a prepared statement as the whole port committee that then I can deliver to Will so that he can essentially read those and then there isn't any appearance of conflict of interest on my side.
Fair enough. Can you take it from the notes?
Is that something Eleanor
Back
can
room,
do?
this boardroom open? Do you have the keys?
Can you
Wait, yeah,
summarize?
yeah.
That's
I
really
think
Stephanie.
I just want to make sure that that will serve. So I think I can
Summarize?
Yeah, I can somewhat. I'm like just worried about like logistics before Casey goes, but we'll work it out.
I think she'll come back.
Yeah. Well, and so okay, I can summarize based on notes and then maybe send that around and say
Send it
like
to us.
yeah, and like is this an accurate representation of what we felt?
Yep.
And then go on from there.
Yep.
Perfect.
And you can bring Casey back. That's what they do in the board meeting. They
Oh.
actually go get her.
Okay, well, I think we can tell her
After the conversation,
too.
or can she not be present for the conversation?
I think best
Cautious.
practice,
Yeah,
yeah,
best
best
practice
practice
is she
to-
should not.
Fair enough.
But we can probably do that and then maybe just send it directly to Will
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, we can ask her too if she
That'll
feels
actually be
uncomfortable.
easier too, because that way it'll keep her out of
Yeah, she's
that chain of
100%.
communication.
Fair enough. Okay.
She's in timeout now.
All right. So Newell Farm Park conceptual
Yep.
design.
Great. So I'll do a little introduction and we'll bring Tyler up in a moment. So this is the same introduction I usually start with the Board of Trustees as well. So a reminder, we're in the conceptual design process. So I think a big thing is we're trying to figure out the vision for the site. Like, what do we want on the site? Right now it's amphitheater, passive park, right? Those are the two main things we've been saying about the park. So those are the important things to lock down today. And we don't get into there's a slight cost, like a high level cost analysis that Wink did. We don't get too deep into construction methods, but this would be the time, since what we're showing you now is roughly like the 100% designs, right? So today you could make a recommendation that these go to the board for them to approve the conceptual design, right? You can provide recommendations. So if you have recommendations for any studies, recommendations for you'd like this looked at more, those are the things we're looking for today. A lot of what we've got wrapped up now is what was part of the scope of Wink for this proposal. So what we don't know, we'll explain to you. A lot of the things you don't dive into real deeply. So that's where if you have recommendations for us to look further into it in the future, following the board approval later on of this concept. So if you do make some, you won't see this packet come back to you like this, right? Ideally, if it kept moving forward under pace, you all would approve it in some way with recommendations. The board would approve it at their meeting, maybe have some suggestions for it, and then we would have a final design put together, wrapped up with that. So, and then that's what would go out. We would post it on the website. We would do a survey with it, and so on. So, let's see. And then just sharing the meetings that since we started the conceptual design, I'm not going back to meetings we had before then, but conceptual design started last November. The port committee is on its 5th meeting with this design, and then the board of trustees have seen it twice, and they'll see it again June 23rd is where it's scheduled right now for that. So with that, I'll bring up Tyler Kiggins. He's not a stranger here. He's been here many times with y'all, with Wink Associates, to share the Newell Farm master plan. So let me bring that up. Oh,
Do I
might have
need
to
it?
touch the. I don't think there's a password. I think it should.
Yep,
There
we're
it
good.
goes.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
In fact,
You're good. You're good. Okay. Thank you. Keith, I don't have mine showing my first slide. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here. Yep.
Okay. Thanks again for having me back. Once again, Tyler from Wank Associates. I'm going to go through essentially what I believe Keith has already sent you as kind of the final master plan. There's going to be portions of it towards the beginning. I'm not really going to get into a lot of detail because you've already seen it. We've gone over it. He just showed you all the other port meetings, but feel free to stop me if you have questions or anything else. Just not going to go into too much detail with some of that. So just starting the master plan, start to acknowledge who was working with us. And so as a reminder, working closely with the town on this, had a number of stakeholders from both the town and then also from City of Arvada, Lakewood, Fort Collins that were helping us with some interviews and trying to understand what they experience in running a similar facility and how we can apply those lessons towards ours. And then once again, it is Wank Associates and Semple Brown were the architects on the team that have been helping us kind of with the stage and some of the design options for that. The whole document goes through like an overview, some history of the site, and then it goes into our process essentially throughout going through the port meetings and the board meetings and just working through concepts and designs. And then at the end, it does go through kind of the preferred concept with we've added some additional renderings and everything as well to that. And then the plans, which I'll go through in a little bit more detail. Once again, just located on Highway 56, about 1.5 miles east of Berthoud, and it's about 13 acres in size, with a number of historic buildings that are intended to stay and remain on site. And then you'll see just to the south is that future farmstead development. So that is the neighborhood coming in the future to the south and to the west of it. Site history. I don't think we need to go into too much of that, just that Butch and Sarah have been putting on a number of great concerts for a number of years now, and this project's really trying to extend that and grow on the success they've already had. Back at the beginning of the project, we did kick off with the top priorities, being a 1,500 person amphitheater, being able to support national talent, some play and some other elements around and near the amphitheater. And then almost maybe one of the most important things was just keeping the farm feel, the rural aesthetic, and that look and feel of that. So that's kind of for the whole project. And then the amphitheater itself was also, the goal was to be very family friendly, impeccable sound, providing shade, and maintaining the visual cues and the rural identity. So those are some of the guiding principles we tried to hit along the way with the project. This was back a while ago where I think Keith brought this to the port and it was discussed, should it be more of a passive park or more an actively programmed park? And at that time it was decided to be more of a passive park, which more just trails, maybe a lawn area, just more passive stuff, not anticipating soccer games or softball fields or anything like that out there. But we still are anticipating maybe using some bocce, horseshoes, some of those other passive games. As part of the process, I mentioned we did interview a bunch of those stakeholders and looked at similar facilities. Some of the stakeholders worked at these facilities and could share lessons specific to them. And they were, some were a little bit bigger than what we were anticipating, like the Dillon Amphitheater is quite a bit bigger, but they had some good lessons about access and loading and unloading from the back of the stage. And some were maybe a little more closer to the size, like the Heritage Lakewood one in the center bottom. That one's pretty interesting too, because it is in the middle of another park that has historic buildings, and they wish they could do things a little bit differently in the future. They have stuff in different buildings, and they just wish circulation was more thought out, and so we had some lessons learned from that, because they're shuffling people through golf carts through a big area that they wish was just a little bit more condensed. the key takeaways from the stakeholder interviews. I don't think I'm going to go through all of these right now, but we really dove into some of the operations, how many shows a year. A lot of these other facilities have 6 to 10 shows a year for the most part. Maybe a couple of them have a couple more. It's a lot of work running the events, and town employees was a big thing we heard could be difficult to work. So getting the right staff in place is really helpful. Talk to them a little about stage and sound. They really like the idea of having a larger stage just to help different programming. So you're not just stuck with the same program. You have a lot more options moving into the future. Hire out sound and lighting. A lot of them, that's what they're doing. They are hiring out sound and lighting. They're not making that big investment up front, but then they do pay for that every year to hire that out, and they have to coordinate all that. Sound complaints happen. They all said sound complaints happen. It's just the fact of what they do. A lot of them said that what they do is they go around the property line and just measure the decibel levels. And if anything's too high, they ask everybody to just turn it down so it gets to where they need to be. But they do say that sound complaints do happen. Abundance of power on the site, especially for, all the speakers and everything, but also lighting. Got to consider site lighting and access and egress or emergency situations. And then also keeping the existing stage that's at the Newell Farm already as a secondary option, as for like a smaller group. So maybe like a high school performance or something smaller, or for a day-long like festivity event where you can open both stages and have the whole park booked out with acts all day long. For the amphitheater itself, top preference was really for a sloped lawn amphitheater seating area. Just a gentle slope. We have that in there, and then you'll see we also have kind of some stepped walls to add some additional seating and break that up a touch. Including shade was we heard that a lot, top priority. We know now with the existing Newell Farm there are great old trees there that provide a lot of great shade, and that can get difficult to get those trees to grow that quick. So we have looked at some other options and some shade sails to include, at least until some trees grow a little bit taller. A lot of the other venues were about in our size range. We're thinking about 1,500, and a lot of theirs were 600 to 2,200. So they had very similar kind of amount of parking and people and kind of overall logistics that we would anticipate at this project as well. And then the south or north facing, they kept saying can be successful for the amphitheater itself and the stage, which way it faces. But overall, the preference was for a northeast facing. That's what they all kind of was their preference, and that's what we developed into this plan as well. And then they really were big on the support facilities. Like you needed to really consider the play elements to help entertain children. Merchandising tent, you need power, Wi-Fi for that. Food and beverage is always great to have. Portalettes or porta-johns. We have some plumbed restrooms that we are showing, and then for like a big event though, we would recommend bringing in a bunch of portalettes. And then parking is just one of the largest concerns, and getting people in and out off of 56 and just making sure we have enough room. And you'll see in our plan, we really just left a lot of the extra site just kind of as a mode, like native seed or grass areas that could just become parking anywhere on the site. So with that, we started into our concept development where we developed a number of different concepts and compared them back and forth. And I think at one point we did talk to you guys about these. From that, I'll show you the concepts on the next sheet, but there was a preference for the round-shaped amphitheater, connections to the neighborhood, shared back of house and infrastructure for both stages. So it's kind of one kind of node for that back of house, large vehicle and pedestrian loops, and then centralized shade sails, picnic areas, trees as well for shade. These are the three concepts that we did present a while back. On the left is where we put the amphitheater on the southwest corner of the site. And then the other two, it's kind of more central in the site. And so it was kind of through the combination of these three concepts, those 4 or 5 main principles came through. And that's what we took from you guys and from the board as we move forward to develop the kind of final preferred concept, which is really kind of a mesh of all three of these. And this is the final preferred concept, and I'll just walk you through it. So I'm just going to start on the left-hand side here. You guys can you can see my mouse. This entrance, so according with working with CDOT, we were limited to the number of access points we can really get off of the highway. So we're thinking that the main access point is going to be on the very eastern side of the park. And that access is really for more to day-to-day park use and people coming in just to use the park when there's not an event. And then when there's an event, you could also open the secondary access on the west side and basically bring people in both sides. We have a big loop road that goes through then. And some of that's just for emergency access, emergency use, but also allowing anybody to kind of leave any side whenever they need to. And then we also do have a temporary access that we would like to keep to the historic homestead until there's no longer anybody really living in the house, and we can rethink that driveway and that curb cut into Highway 56. A lot of the edges of the site would just then be mostly mown seed to allow for some of that parking during events. Are thinking about doing some berming all along the edges, especially not 56 as much, but the other three edges. Just some berming and screening to help screen from the neighborhood, the future farmstead development. Also, though, we're being cognizant of the mountain views as well. So some of that, strategically placed trees, and then some of it's more just trying to get headlight screening and stuff from going through fences during shows. So getting up at least 3 or 4 feet would be great, so you don't have the headlight intrusion. On this left side, then, for a show, we would have a space, more of an ADA parking lot that could have 20 spaces in it. Would be more of a hard surface parking lot, concrete parking lot, that would give great ADA access to especially stage 2 in the green room and everything over here. But day to day, like when the park is open, that'd probably just be a closed parking lot because you wouldn't have access to it, but it'd be great for shows. This is the existing stage that is there now, and there's an existing green room, so we're proposing that those remain in place. And then you have the loading dock back behind those. And back in that loading area is where you have some of the touring acts parking, some extra vehicles. There's probably trash and storage and all that type of stuff inside that loading zone. And then just to the right of that is the new stage we'd be proposing, which is the larger stage for the larger amphitheater that also backs up to the same loading zone, trying to coexist all that back of house. Keep going down here. This parking lot down here, then, this 20-space gravel parking lot is coming up from the farmstead development. This could be open during the normal park time as well, just coming into the park as a park user, and then you just close it off, so like with a gate or something at this location, so you can only get into that zone. The thinking too then is that during an event, that lot in particular could be closed and be used for staff at the event, town staff, and then also even golf cart parking. We've heard a desire for some golf cart and bicycle parking. We think down at that neighborhood connection would be a great location for some of that. Moving over to the right-hand side, then, we have another 20-space ADA parking lot. We think that would be really kind of like your day-to-day parking lot for the park use. Anybody coming in could come down. They can go into that parking lot, leave that way, and then they had access to all of this right here, right off of that parking lot. Just north of that, then, is where we've just allocated the space for a future 20,000 square foot performing arts center. But in the interim, it would just be mown parking. Working to the left, this then is the center of the amphitheater. It's about 3/4 of an acre in size, which we think is about right for 1,500 people. It does slope from the top down to the bottom at about 3% or so. And then we do have a ringed concrete walk going around it, and then a ringed walk cutting it down the center as well, just so you can kind of access through the center. And then down at the very bottom is another location where it's maybe more of a harder surface that could be maybe more where people are dancing, or it could be a VIP seating area or something as well down in that last area right in front of the stage. And then for the concern for shade, we did look into some shade sails, those big sails that can kind of be hung up by cables. I think it could be a really great option. We've included them there just more the top half of the amphitheater, thinking that like later in the days when you would really be at the amphitheater. But I think just moving forward, if shade is still going to be something we want to consider, it'd be really valuable to just do a series of shade studies and really think about where those go and what time of day the concerts are going to be happening at and when do we want that shade. The stage right now is banked with 2 approximately 10-foot high berms on either side. And the thought behind that was kind of twofold. One was for some sound attenuation, just trying to keep any sound out of the neighborhood. But it was also just to help, screening views and those car headlights and everybody else from back of the stage as well. Like during a show, you don't see any of that as well. It's kind of buffered behind that planted berm. As you work your way up towards this play area right here, that's just a smaller nature play, kind of nature themed play area with maybe an old silo or a silo play tower in it that could have a slide coming out of it. And then right in this location, we're kind of continuing this grouping of tents. Like you could have a whole kind of promenade of tents along that zone. Those first two kind of in between stage 1 and stage 2 we're thinking could be great locations for an EMS tent or a merchandising tent, something like that. And then EMS could still kind of get back a house back here and be able to leave on the roads pretty quickly. And then as you go north, this is more of a larger kind of tree-lined walkway, trees on each side and a lay with some picnic tables spanned in between them. Have opportunities to do some catenary lights or anything else within that zone. Just kind of a big promenade, a place for people to hang out, still hear the music from the top but not be sitting in the amphitheater as much. Opportunity for a little garden space. And then this appears like just a grassy lawn that could be used, during the fall or when there's not a show happening, just throw a frisbee or hang out. But then it could become a place where you have some more of the tents, you have kids tents, or if you have an all-day festival, it's where they're doing face painting or all that other stuff's happening there. Right next to the restroom and concessions building, where we do have planned some restrooms in there that are fully plumbed for park use. But during a show, the thinking is that those would be turned off and you'd use the portalettes during the show. Also have some opportunities for some food trucks, if that becomes a priority. Over on this side, there's a kind of a spot for 2 of them, and then along this walk, there's a spot for up to 4 of them. And generators, and those are always a concern. We could hardwire so they could plug in directly into those, so you don't have to worry about the generators. And then we have spots like down here. We have enough room for a lot of portalettes, kind of along that stretch. And then we have some space over here. We could add portalettes as well during a show. I think that's about it for this. Let me see. I can go to. Is there any? This is just an enlarged version of that, and just want to check to see if there's any questions or clarification needed. Yeah.
In your previous slide, there was a point about having climate-controlled storage unit. I don't see that on here. Is that something you guys talked about, or where did that discussion end up?
Yeah, so part of, I think, stage 1, like the newer stage, we're thinking that could be inside that building, the back of the building behind the stage, could be some of that climate-controlled storage for the musicians, any of their gear, that stuff. And also in that building could be some of the restrooms for the musicians and a green room. So everything kind of incorporated into that one building there.
In stage 1, we'll have the green room as well.
Yep.
Where would rideshare pickup or drop off happen?
That's still a tough one, for sure. I think last time we really discussed it, it was really like maybe having them come in and just setting up a portion of the Moan parking as a kind of a drop-off spot, and then you loop back out. I think that was the best that we could really come up with at this time, because you still need to kind of get them off of 56. So it was kind of maybe more of an informal, just like the rest of the parking out on the site.
Yeah, I think that's important because we talked about like shuttling people over as well, because there wasn't necessarily enough parking. And so if we have that, I mean, shuttling any kind of shuttle needs to have somewhere to turn around, that they're not going to have to go through the whole site.
Yep. I mean, we thought shuttles could just come in and we could have the opportunity. We thought down here would be great, but they could just drive in and then just go through the site and then leave the other exit. Like just make one big loop on the in and out, so they don't have to turn around or do anything, was our thinking. And that you could then drop off anywhere kind of in this area down here.
I'm thinking about that, but also, I mean, that might work for going in at the beginning of the show, but at the end of the show, this is going to be like a gridlock of cars. If they can get in, they're going to have to sit and wait, and people are going to be waiting.
And where the people are going to queue to get on the bus, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we had talked about like having some kind of, where the entrance was, some kind of a loop to turn around and go back out or something like that. I don't know if that's possible, but
I would recommend for that is when we get to that point in the planning and review process is possibly getting the one of the sheriff deputies involved,
Mm-hmm.
just because they can talk through their traffic control procedures
How they
and lessons learned. Unfortunately, I think with this, especially as we look at like the ride share and kind of the limited ingress egress, there's going to be a little bit of trial by fire. So AARing it on the back end is going to
Yeah.
be really important.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. I mean, I could see almost this whole little quadrant up here being taken over the northwest corner just with ride share and bus and shuttle drop off. That's probably how much room you might need to take away from the average parking and allocate towards that.
Well, and so just thinking, I mean, my partner and I are the kind of people that are going to kind of scheme, to like, get in and get out. So if we were scheming here and we were doing like drop off and pick up and didn't want to get jammed in traffic, we'd go to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so just as a caution for fellow schemers, if we don't come up with a plan here, people are going to scheme a plan up. So,
And you don't want people parking in the neighborhood and
Yeah.
dealing with all that. Yeah. Yep.
I do have one more.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't have questions more about rideshare stuff, this loading zone, it's just hard for me to imagine it, kind of 2D to 3D. Would this feel like back of house and like somewhere that you shouldn't go if you were attending the concert? Because it's very centrally located and easy to get to. And so I'm just wondering if, like, how is it going to feel like and look whenever it's 3D, 4D? Yeah.
So a lot of that's just still going to just be elevation wise still really flat, and it's probably just going to be a big open area to allow all that turning around and movement through there and parking. Let me see. I wrote down how big that is. This zone right here is like 100 by 65, so it's a pretty good size piece of land there. So we feel like you get a lot of turning and drop off in there. You'll see in a second we are starting to show some fencing, both permanent fencing and then fencing you set up for a show. It's my understanding that a lot of that back of house, the green rooms, we really want to restrict the public and access to that. So we would have fencing and not allow people in a lot of those areas. And I mean, we could reinforce some of that fencing with larger planted buffers and more trees and everything too. But I think at a minimum, if you just have the fencing, I think you can keep people out of there. Visually, though, I think you'd still be able to see in pretty easily at this point without an opaque fence. This is just kind of talking about the differences between like temporary and then event and kind of what can change throughout the day depending upon what's happening at the show. Example being like the food trucks can come and go during events. Activity tents come and go during the events. Restrooms, though, we would be proposing 4 permanent restrooms for the park, which I mentioned earlier, up in this restroom kind of concessions building that also has some picnic space underneath it. So that would be 4 just for park users, and then they shut them off, lock the doors for events to focus everybody on the portalettes. 2 permanent restrooms in the new stage, and then the 1 restroom in the green room that's existing right now. And then the portalettes and stuff are also come and go as needed. And then same with merch tents. And then event parking, you can kind of get a sense of where, so like there'd be 75 spaces up here, 96, 32, like we've laid them all out, and we laid them all out to like parking lot standards, knowing that you can probably park them a little more efficiently, especially after hearing what they're doing already on site. They can squeeze them in a little tighter, so I think these numbers might be a touch low. I think realistically they can fit in a couple more. But that's just really showing where a lot of those parking spaces are, the neighborhood spots down there, and then where food trucks and stuff can park as well. Here's where I was starting to mention some of the fencing. These solid lines we would think of as almost maybe a permanent fence, and it could still kind of look and feel like a ranch fencing. And so we would propose almost like kind of fencing some of these off. And part of that is just to control access and where people are going. And so you also don't have to bring in as much fencing for every event or show as well. And some of it was just thinking if you had to, like, say, if you wanted to sell alcohol, like, how do you start to fence that in and what does that look like? So that's like, maybe this fence really isn't needed on, say, that western edge. But if you're going to start selling alcohol and you really wanted to contain people and keep people out paying ticket customers in the show, like we might have to start to close that off a little bit more. We have the ticket gate there then on the west side that you could come in through some fencing and gates near that parking lot. And then the other ticket gate would be over on the east side. So if you're coming from the south or the other side, you could get to that ticket gate. This is then an example of another permanent fence that I think we'd be proposing as part of it as well. And then here's an example maybe of more temporary fencing. Like maybe day to day this fence is not needed, but if you want to really control access, you can put that fence in there. However, you could, maybe you don't need that one. This is just thinking through options, because if you don't have that one, the whole site's already kind of blocked off from 56, you could be okay. It's just kind of how each event may be programmed and run, that we're just trying to think through that. Once again, EMS was still right there. Gate down here. And then I think basically what I've heard today already is that we may need to add some more either temporary or permanent fencing to kind of help close off this back of house area a little bit more. We've kind of closed it off from the amphitheater, but not from the parking lot at this point.
What is the purpose of the gate in the bottom right corner?
Oh, just that gate is to restrict access day to day, so only for events. So if you pull into that parking lot, you can't like drive through the rest of the site or come all the way over to the other side. So like if you come in from the east, you come down this road, it's keeping you just to this zone when it's just like the park and there's not an event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bicycle, anybody could walk through. It's just keeping cars in that zone. So they're not like coming over to the other side of the park on a day-to-day basis with their vehicles. On the right then is some more about that access. Food trucks, we think can get in and out here pretty easily. Here's the temporary access. And then once again, down here is all the loading, and we just think you can make these big loops as needed, and you could load in and out of that zone. Artists, EMS, everybody could use this kind of whole back of house, trash, pickup, everything. We did put together an opinion of probable cost. This is based on the plan you saw. Like we took a bunch of area takeoffs and put our best guess at some of the numbers. And then we worked with Simple Brown on the structures, a lot closer, just kind of what they think those would be. There will be, this could go a lot, and this could get a lot pricier, or it could come down a lot, just really depending on like level of finishes, what the actual stage and structure looks and feels like. I think just kind of went for middle of the road right here all around for pricing. But it does come in with the site prep and earthwork, and this would assume like all the surveying, all your soil prep, getting all, everything ready for the site, about $500,000. Utilities could be upwards of $1.5 million for storm, all the extra electrical that might be needed. Site lighting, we have allocated some site lighting in the budget for this, and so for that we were including a couple taller lights that could be at the parking lots, those like ADA parking lots where they're actually concrete lots. Around the amphitheater itself is maybe more bollards. And then we have some ped poles as well where it's taller, like 16 foot lights in some other spaces. Not lighting the mown areas at all, thinking that if you need lighting for parking at night, those might be those things you have to bring in with a generator and it pops up the light. Just trying not to get that much infrastructure out there. So that does include site lighting. Pavement, walls and walks, $875,000. The landscapes, so just all the trees, shrubs, native lawn. We are assuming like the whole site could be native seeded. That could be $2.5 million. Irrigation, $500,000. Site furnishings, just typical bike racks, trash, recycling, pet waste stations. But then the playground and the tower itself, that's the silo play tower, a little over $1 million. And then we have $4 million for the stage, green room, improvements to stage 2, picnic shelter, restroom, and then the shade sails as well. So it comes out to about a little over $11 million before you put a contingency on top of that. Just kind of hard cost right now is that's our best guess what we could come up with.
Does this include wiring in for food trucks, or would this be food trucks on generators?
I think this could include that. Yeah. We don't necessarily like this is all the items aren't necessarily to that level of detail, and some are and some aren't. But I think we have enough budget, I think, in the electrical that we could probably include that piece.
Okay.
Yep.
That was really what my question
Yeah. Especially since we're already like, if we're already assuming site lighting and electrical's running elsewhere, it shouldn't be a problem.
Do some food trucks need wiring? Is that what you said?
No, the power, just so that they don't have to run on generators while
Okay.
the music's going.
Got it. Okay.
And just plug them in.
Generators are loud.
We did cut a section through here, so on the left side you can kind of see that's the plan, small, and then that line through there is we're cutting a section through there looking west at what that might look like. So the bottom is the full section, and the top is just cut in two because it's kind of long. And so what we really just want to start looking at is how tall some of this stuff might get, how the amphitheater looks. Here's an example too, like from the amphitheater stage to its closest point is about 180 feet. So we're just trying to get an idea of some of these distances. And then the amphitheater itself's about 180 feet, and then you have almost the same amount all the way out to the property line on the north. And in just looking at that, like these berms, where what you see, this is the restroom building, kind of the back side of it. So looked at that. I think we've gone over these with you as a group before. Here's an example of that shade sail kind of pricing wise and what we picked for that. Bottom is an example of maybe one of the play structures or play towers. You could repurpose a silo, create a brand new silo, or they have play manufacturers that basically make these as well to look like a silo already. Here's a rendering of what it could look like basically as the show is about to start, as the sun's going down. You have a lot of the parking filled in around the edges. The stage here, stage one is in the center, and then everybody in the amphitheater itself. We have food trucks, portalettes. This is that larger walk of picnic tables between the trees. Here's that kind of lawn that could be activated with games and kids games and stuff over here. And then the play area, and then over here is the other stage and green room. Here's just a couple other views, not quite as like finished, but just some other shots looking back east, kind of over the amphitheater, looking back northeast, just seeing what that would look like, what you see in that direction, looking towards the stage, and you see the play area on the right there, and then over on the right hand side over here would be where that walk is. So this is kind of the big lawn that is the amphitheater. This is that secondary lawn that's up closer to Highway 56. Just where those tents could be during an event, but also just providing that lawn activity next to some gardens day to day. And then this is almost standing like back here, looking back towards where this view is taken as you're kind of coming into the amphitheater past the playground. That's the top of the amphitheater up there. And that's kind of what I have for today. So love to hear any questions, feedback, any other thoughts.
One thing I would ask is like when you have those cut through where you're kind of on ground level looking west, it'd be nice to have some concept of what that mountain view looks like from there and what we would be seeing in that background, because obviously it's not going to be that blue sky. So just to kind of understand what that looks like, that's been one of the big things, is kind of that view corridor and what we're going to be seeing. And so just having that concept might be good for the board when they look at it.
Okay.
I had a comment on the shade structure.
Yeah.
I think our committee recommended to do a shade study or to explore that. I think the board did as well. And I know Sarah and Butch have talked about that whole area maybe needing to have shade. And so I just want to make sure at some point, I don't know what the timeline is, like whether it's before this conceptual design gets fully approved or not, but I think it would be good to have an accurate representation of what that shade thing is going to look like based on a shade study.
Yep, for sure.
Just to capture that.
Okay.
I I have a comment, and I'm sorry to go back to the rideshare parking.
Oh yeah, you're fine. That's a tough one. So yeah.
But I just staring at this more too. I think one of the things that worries me about it, and that I want to think through before we get to where we have to make more concrete decisions, is that if we did have to do rideshare on one side, or pick up, drop off, or shuttle, or whatever you want to call that zone on one side here, if we then lose a significant portion of the Moan Field because we've built this brilliant performing arts center, then are we just screwed again? So I'm don't have a solution. I only have a problem, and I'm sorry for that. But did want to call out that I think that's going to be an important part to how this park works in the future, especially if the town continues to grow. Rideshare is just going to become more common.
Yeah.
I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that parcel to the east potentially up in the balance as well?
It could be purchased by the town.
Right.
But I mean, we would recommend that the town try to purchase that.
Yeah, like
We
almost
don't
like a
own it.
purchase that, then pursue the Performing Arts Center. That way we've got that ability to shift a little bit. Obviously, I don't hold the purse, but
See that happen. You know, the folks who own that had a different idea when the Edwards owned Farmstead.
Mhm.
And since it changed ownership and the whole plan changed, the school changed, everything changed. You know, it's not as clear how that property will be developed. So we would recommend that the town think about buying it. Because then they own that whole.
Yeah, that's an additional 6.5 acres.
yeah, it's a big swath. Yeah.
But as it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands now, we don't own that, right? And so
No.
we would have to work within what we have for the moment, probably. I mean, I agree. I don't know if you could work something into, like something to use some of this parking lot on the top left or the top right and have a turnaround where they can get in and out. I mean, it poses that issue. Like if you don't have one way, you don't have it going one way, or you're going to have all these people coming in and then people trying to leave for ride shares and things. I don't know what the answer is, but
Rideshare could maybe have their own one way in. Like, say, what if rideshare only came on the west coming in, and everybody else had to come in on the east, but then everybody could leave the west?
so I think you probably want to go the other direction.
Okay.
And only because you're bringing people from the west.
Yeah, come from town.
So like
Yep.
if you had, I mean, I get the theory, but I would say like the west entrance is probably the one that most people are going to assume is where they're going.
With the first turn.
But if you could even like take, some amount of, and even if it was like, 'cause this Moan parking in the top right, an eventual performing arts center, as things progress, if we buy that other property, if we do all of these things, we could change what that looks like. But for now, like, I feel like if you put it on that right northeast corner, that's something that would be a little more changeable, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
than
yeah,
this
for sure, yeah.
northwest corner.
Well, and I also think too that part of this is we're looking at things that ideally here are permanent structures, and the things that we're talking about are things that could be temporary structures. And so it's hard to kind of like toe that line and kind of plan for max capacity when 95% of the time this is not a problem at all. And so I think too that maybe it's even just kind of figuring out a way to just kind of show what some of the temporary like here's the zone where you could do that. I think that would be helpful to kind of be able to visualize it.
I think we essentially would update this site access diagram with some of the ride sharing as well.
I think that would be super. And then it's my big concern is not that it's gonna happen. It's like that. I just want to have a solid plan in place, and I think that would move us closer to that.
Okay. And I think it's great if you go the first exit coming from town. The only reason I said the other one was just because that would be the access point that's day to day, like the main park entrance.
Sure.
So most of people, that's what they'd be accustomed to. But I mean, we're open to whatever.
Well, I like the idea that there's already because on the top right, that little stretch there, that's the road for like the food trucks to get out, correct? So that already is there and
Yeah.
in plan. So like you could easily loop something
Loop it,
around
yeah.
right there that would be only accessed by food trucks and ride share.
Right chair, yeah,
I mean, I think it would be
and shuttle, and yeah.
and it would, like I said, I think you're going to have more people coming in, trying
From
to come in
town.
that west entrance.
Yeah.
Looking at how wide that shoulder is as well on the southern side of 56, worst case scenario, the police maybe even be like, "Hey, you're gonna have enough of a slowdown anyway
Yeah.
with volume coming through." Is that might be viable at least for like a shuttle drop off or something?
Oh, I bet they're going to be a hard no on that. Don't you think?
I
With
don't know.
CDOT, I mean, having like a stop and drop on 50 on a highway.
Well,
Looking
that's
at how
what
wide that is, though, that might be a potential.
I assumed it'd be a hard no too, but maybe if sheriff's already out there directing traffic and they could pull in a shuttle or something.
And there's a roundabout.
What about like
Shoe fly.
trash area, like things that I'm just kind of looking through Butch and Sarah's notes too.
Yeah.
like trash collection.
We were
all
thinking
that
that's in that kind of back of house loading area.
back behind the stages.
Yeah, back there behind the stages.
They get kind of stinky.
I do appreciate though that you put the porta johns on the eastern side, just given wind flows. and Such. Now, I mean, it's a
Yeah, yeah.
consideration. You know, unless the winds flip and then we
Yeah, yeah.
Greeley and
Everything
then some
into
other
the
flavor in there,
amphitheater.
Well, then you can just blame.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly.
I have a, oh, go ahead. I have a non-parking question. With your mouse, can you draw on the map, like where do you see, and on non-concert days, where do you see people hanging out and using the park facilities? Is it this little side on the east?
I think it's this whole center area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, and then some of these could be used as double up as trails. You could walk around the exterior of the site, and then I think all this could be open during the day, including this, the lawn out here. So you could basically utilize the whole site.
Okay, so parking down here and the little staff-only parking for the events, but then using the whole thing. So the gates are not to gate people out during.
It's just to
non-concert.
keep cars out of that western side, really, and away from like the historic homestead, and just kind of keep that side a little quieter.
From cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Kind of going further on the space utilization. I mean, everything that we continue to look at is exterior, outside. Has there been any discussion for what's going to be done with the house when it's no longer inhabited?
Not
Just any
really in
intent
detail
or-
yet.
Okay. Just curious. Yeah, I know we've mostly talked about the amphitheater. I just
One idea was to let the historical society use it as offices,
okay.
or Keith knows the town needs offices at times, right? So there's no restrictions
Okay.
on what can be done inside. The only restrictions are that the front part of the house that is 1879 built has to be preserved.
Got it.
So, in other words, when you're driving down 56, you'll always see a farmhouse.
Okay.
But other than that, you
Yeah.
can tear off the back side of the house, make it a visitor center, which really doesn't make sense given the access. But you could change it, and you could use it as anything you want.
Got it. Thanks.
You had talked about one of the things with the fencing being like for alcohol sales and that kind of thing, and then there was some mention in there of like BYOB. I'm not familiar with that, like in a public park type setting. Is that
I don't think you need the fence for BYOB.
you don't need?
I
the
don't think
fence?
so. I don't know what your town. Are you allowed to have alcohol in parks right now in town?
With a permit,
No,
right?
not really.
No,
With a permit though, like
With
they,
permit,
yeah.
yes.
with a permit. Okay.
Yeah, but usually if there's alcohol involved, you have to have fenced in. Yeah.
Even BYOB.
Yeah, if you're gonna, I don't know anything that's ever publicly said BYOB.
Yeah.
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 Like, it's been kind of on.
But I would
People
say
do
like
it,
that
but-
is a really good fundraiser for nonprofits. Like the Wildfire does the alcohol at the July 3rd, and that's a huge fundraiser for them throughout the year. So we've got a few, several local charities that I'm sure would love to see the alcohol sales. But just I mean, instead of the BYOB, because I would think that you'd want some control over it, because that could get out of hand very quickly. I would think.
You can test it on Saturday
Oh,
for Bertha Day.
For the day.
fair enough.
Sorry, bad
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
right, so any other questions? We can get public comment.
I was gonna, well, if you guys are, I was gonna share some things too from staff
Yes.
as well. Okay, so as you all comment on the designs, we do as well. So I'm just gonna share some things that we brainstormed. So one is, or things that we also just need to look in further into. So mode parking is something we haven't had to manage before. So we're wondering with event frequency, like if you do a bunch of events, how's the grass hold up? I've been to events in the other areas where there was mode parking and then it rained a lot the day of the show and then it turned into mud parking and things like that. So, I mean, those are, we just got to look into more. That's all I'm saying here, just like you guys are asking to look into more things. So these are some other,
Can I ask a question on that?
yeah.
Are you thinking alternatively gravel parking? Because it looked like some of the designs here had like kind of a gravel parking, or you don't have a direction. You're just
Nope.
look into it.
Nope.
But would
just
that be an option, or
doing more gravel? Yeah.
yeah?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be a lot. I think we all want to avoid turning, what is it, 7 or 8 acres into
Gravel.
gravel? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
But-
grass stabilization options as well that you can like embed with the grass. Just like for a muddy day, it helps a little bit. It just doesn't. But to Keith's original point, we were still questioning like how can you mow this grass that often and have people always driving on it and still survive? And originally, we've just heard that concerts, maybe they're looking for more concerts than originally thinking. So we're just trying to think through that.
Well, and I would add too on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, is it going to be mow once a year for concerts, and then that's really hard to mow and you have to bush hog it, So, that's, I guess, if it's a problem, I'll leave it to you.
I think you'd have to mow it almost before every concert,
That's what I would imagine.
just because
but,
you're going to want it short enough.
Yeah. But maybe I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
where that one came from. I'm sorry, but thanks for listening.
Yeah.
But we could also, internally, we've already talked about like different grass mixes, different grasses that can hold up to it, just like thinking through it that way too.
Let's see. Comments on the playground being right there where it's located. It sounded like in the area, Windsor has an outdoor venue that has a playground behind it, but it does sound like, from what I've heard from people who have used it, it works really well. This one's similar location, so that's an example I found that was like, okay, there are playgrounds next to music venues. So I don't know if you guys have any extra feedback on the playground and play structures at all.
Just wanted to reiterate the comments that we already made about the silo, and just, I know that's far out, but just thinking about there's kids at the playground. I think we had talked about shutting off the silo, and is that what we want to be doing with that area? So.
And I like the playground here versus behind it because of the proximity to the highway. I mean, I know that the fence, it looks like the
Yeah.
permanent fence is going to be there, but when my kids were that age, it would, for me, just the comfort level would be to have them next to the stage instead of behind, just because of that.
Got it. We don't go too deep into the lighting yet, but of course we're curious as well as how the lighting would work out on the site and what that would do. And some of this is getting out into future neighborhood impacts, and so lighting, sound. I had rideshare on my list too, so those are the main ones that we'd like to look deeper into as well as part of this process. So I do want to share the Farmstead Development. We've met with them and shared the plan with them because they are the biggest neighbor there. We also are going to send this out to people who live within 1,000 feet of this site. Probably next week they'll get a letter just making them aware that this is being conceptualized right now and see their thoughts on it. So talking with the development, the key points that they've brought up is the utilization of the southern access. And if you have a southern access on the site, does that then open up the neighborhood during events, and will people during events think that southern access is, the main access? And basically, how's the neighborhood going to be impacted during events, right? That's a thing we haven't worked through yet as well. So that brings up then, is parking capacity enough for the site, and then how are we going to manage the overflow vehicles? Will there be some type of noise study to look into? How's this going to impact surrounding neighbors? What's our programming that we do not have figured out yet? Details on what the landscape buffer would look like, and is that a berm? Is that conifers? Some type of screening? Is that trees, and how tall are the trees? And then that gets more into the view corridor on the site, and do we have a view corridor from the amphitheater? How do we plan to manage waste? And then also how stuff about the lighting as well. So we don't have that yet, so those are concerns from we've heard from them. So
How many folks live within that 1,000 feet buffer right now? Do you know how many property owners look at that?
it would go to 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully they tell us something.
Yeah.
And nothing's super close as of right now, right? Everything's pretty.
I think so. At 500 feet, it was like 7. 7 people, 7 property owners, and 1,000 was 11.
Do you have a mechanism to collect feedback from those 11 people, or are you just sending them a note?
They'll get the letter and it'll say, "Send your feedback to me," and then there'll be a board meeting on the 23rd about it as well.
And then I guess I would say to the farmstead developers, the people that buy the houses along those neighborhood, Newell Farm Park, and this design, I believe was here, there's no houses there, no development. So they'll buy those houses knowing what they're buying into. If the
You
noise
hope.
is a concern, maybe don't buy those houses, I would say.
Yeah. That's a good assumption. I don't think, we get property owners who buy next to other parks that we own that come in with different thoughts. So, yeah.
I would also think that given the challenges that they've already had with that specific development, County Road 1 being really one of the big ones, is that side of the development even going to take place is something that I would consider too. So, yeah, just because, when you look at that and then some of the other large scale subdivisions that are going up, a lot of them look like they're slowing down. And the other question that I kind of toil with is where's the demand signal for that housing? So, not hopefully, but
Right.
in my opinion, this may not happen.
Okay.
The houses, not the farm park.
This and this area, these houses that are immediately adjacent, that's not the part that's built out, right? Or do we already? Yeah. So
No.
do we know then that we're even gonna have a view shed if those houses come in?
You can kind of see there. I think we drew that at like 25 feet tall. That house there. So that's kind of what you can start to see here. I think you still could, but those houses are also going to have trees and everything as well in the future.
Is the 25, how
I think to the
25 foot
peak,
tall house is 1 story?
it'd be like a 2 to the peak.
Okay, so those can be 2 story or?
I don't-
what was
Those,
the-
those houses specifically,
What was the?
those were specifically asked to be dropped
Dropped,
down in
yeah.
height by the developer.
Do we know to what? Are they single
I don't know
stories?
what the
I think
height
those are single.
Is that first line of houses supposed to be single story? Is that on the west? Okay. So this rendering of a 25 foot.
It could be a little tall
is
then.
that is single story? Okay.
Yeah, it could be a little tall. We could drop that down to make it sure it's rendering a 1 story
Yeah, I just think getting
Yeah.
an idea what that's going to look like looking to the west, but I mean that's certainly nothing in our control in terms of what trees they put over there and anything like that, but just kind of trying to create as best views as possible.
Sure.
All right, any other questions from the committee? No? We can open it up for public comment.
Oops.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Steve Schroyer, Schroyer Resources, representing the farmstead development, just that we've been talking about. To your point, we are absolutely going to do filing 3. We're in process right now with the town staff going through PDP plans. So we are working actively on getting filing 3 moving it along. We did have some challenges out there, like you said, with County Road 1. If anybody knows anybody at Excel or Lumen, you have a brother or sister-in-law that works there, I'd be happy to speak with you after the meeting. So yeah, there's been a lot of challenges from CDOT not plowing snow to dry utilities to everything, you name it. It's been hard. And I'll give you guys some advice here maybe at the end as you work through this. Keith did a good job explaining some of the issues we have. We want to make it clear we're not against this project. We see it as a very good asset for the community, for the entire town of Berthoud and the region. So we're not here to, speak out against the project. We just have some concerns, as those have been well noted, about the traffic and how it impacts the subdivision, the lighting, and things like that. I won't say everything that Keith said because he did a good job. The buffering, we would like to see it actually shown on the plans. Right now, there's 4 trees along that edge, along the western boundary and the southern boundary. That's not a buffer. There are standards that the town staff is aware of. Ton and Ann both know the standards. We had to do an 18-foot buffer on our edge, and that is landscaped. We did our own view corridor study from the park to the mountains. The trees in the streets in front block the mountains. Take away the house, take away the trees in the backyard. The street trees, 40 feet on center, per town code, do block the mountain views. So I think you guys need to look at your mountain views and do the study, lower it down. As you guys back away, you might gain some height and get over it, but that site is very flat. So, but we'd like to see the buffer shown on these plans before it goes to council, if we could, because I think it paints a different picture. What else have we got here? View study. So that's really the only comments I had on the plan itself. I'd encourage you guys to work with, I mentioned this to Keith earlier today, the non-pot system. You're going to need a pond on this site to be able to irrigate the property. You need to start showing that. I encourage you to get with Tim Villebrand at CDOT and become his best buddy and start spending as much time with him as you can. There definitely will not be a rideshare pickup on 56, I can tell you that. But I'm worried that you guys are going to be forced to do acceleration and deceleration lanes. I don't know if those are brought up. If that's the case, that is massive amount. The gold standard that CDOT forces you to build to is unlike anything we've ever experienced in our life. The magnitude of just the rock under the roundabout, under the 56 roundabout we're doing right now, is like an Egyptian pyramid. It's insane how much rock is underneath it. That's your tax dollars hard at work. So I would meet with Tim Villebrand as fast and as much as you could to talk about that, and probably even initiate, like even Matt Delich, who did our traffic study. He has all the data for the area to help you guys with what that would look like and be the liaison with Tim Villebrand. Drainage. It does rain here, obviously, and I think you guys are going to find out that some of the portions of the grass are probably going to need to be recycled asphalt. That creates drainage issues. The Newell Lake Drainage District has rights to the surface runoff in this area. You have to be careful that you're not impacting that in certain ways. You'll need to get with Doug Pennick, and I can give you his information, and work with those guys. Our engineers have the whole area mapped and could probably help you guys with drainage facilities and detention and where it goes, because it was a struggle on filing 3 as we're working through this. And then on the plan itself, I think you guys are going to need a loop for trash in the service area in like the drop off for equipment. I would encourage you to run a WB45 template in there, because what you have right now, it won't work for a trash truck and a fire truck. So I would meet with the fire department and ask them how things work in there, because right now there's not enough room. I think you're going to need to do a loop road in and out of that area. Other than that, I think everything's been spoken about. We're concerned about the access to the south, but we'll work with staff and figuring that out. I know we'll figure that out. But done with my 3 minutes already?
Yeah.
Geez, all the good advice I'm giving you. You're
I
kicking me
know,
out.
it's
So,
good. It's very
I don't,
good.
that's all I have. If you have any questions,
How do you spell your last name?
Schroyer, Schroyer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay.
I have a question. All those things that you mentioned in a very short amount of time, do staff have a list of all of those things? Because I'm trying to process everything you said in a short amount of time, and I feel like you're bringing up really good points, and you're also bringing up some learnings from your experiences that you're currently going through that might add to the cost of this project that I think need to be thought through before this goes forward, right? Like, before it goes farther.
We're working with Keith. I mean, we've been meeting along the way, and we're, like he said, we're just now getting to the point to where it's going to start getting more real. So I think we'll work with staff and provide as much information as we can and help you guys out however we can, because it's the whole area to develop there is a struggle. So we have to have good help.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other public comment?
So Butch is not contagious, just so you know.
I'm not what?
Contagious?
No, I'm not contagious.
He's sick, but he's not contagious. He's had this forever. But that's what happens when you have cancer, right? So we appreciate what Steve is saying, and we were concerned about some of those things too. So we're really glad to hear you talk about that. And we want to just let everyone know that we don't want to impact the farmstead development negatively. And so when it comes to headlights and those kinds of things, I'm glad we're all going to think about that, because it's pretty cool. One of the things we need to be aware of is that the board made sure that when farmstead third filing came through for your revised master plan, that not only were the west houses restricted to single story, but there was a decision that folks who buy within farmstead third filing would be informed that they are going to be living near an amphitheater, and that comes with certain things. And those certain things were going to be on the plat and negotiated. So that was going to be part of their knowing as they purchase. And for us, we would purchase because of that, right? We would want to walk to the amphitheater. So that would be an enticement. And so doesn't have to be a negative thing, but folks do need to be informed. Concerning the silo, if we look at what Tyler showed, there's a really cool silo structure that's completely enclosed. You know, like the kids, all they do is go up and go down a slide, but people who want to see a view can go up and look through the slats. So it can be very safe, the silo. It doesn't have to be a scary silo, you know. So we can think through all that, but of course we don't want children hurt when they come play while their parents are enjoying a show. Right. So we all know that. So I just wanted to bring up, Butch and I wanted to bring up the points that we had written down in what was sent to you, and just make sure we're thinking about it. So in addition to the solar study, which we agree needs to happen, everybody's talking about that. And it's a matter of when would it happen. And we think that you can approve a final concept plan, and then with an understanding that as the construction drawings begin, the first phase of those construction drawings would be based on these studies. So we're talking about 4 studies. We're talking about a solar study, a view shed study, because as Steve is pointing out, trees get higher than houses over time. And we, as a community, Tree City USA, we insist on trees. But what we need to think about is, I think we need to know what we're getting into in 20 years. And if there's a certain place or a certain view shed that could go down a street, or if the elevation can be such that it can help us in 25 years, we need to make that decision consciously. So we've got a solar study, And we can tell you that the shade from our 70 to 90-foot trees goes over that land pretty readily. It goes all the way to the eastern property line of Knoll Farm Park. And as it moves north in the summer, as the sun moves north in the summer, there's a lot of shade that goes on there, but it happens at the end of the day. So what do we want? Solar study, view shed study, sound study, as these guys are pointing out. And I want Butch to talk about sound here for a second so that you can hear what somebody who's done this for 50 years thinks about when it comes to a neighborhood.
Okay. Well, as far as the sound, there's been incredible advances made just in the last 10 years in live sound reinforcement and the way that we're able to control sound and to beam it to audiences with very little wash to the sides and to the back. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of the Sphere in Las Vegas. We went there to see the Eagles. They beam sound to every seat in that facility. It's amazing what they do, and I know exactly how they did it. So with the line arrays that we have now, we can focus the sound so that everything is shot out to the front. There's virtually no wash from the back or the sides, and the berms that you have planned there, they're great for the headlights and everything, but if you're thinking of them for sound mitigation, it's a waste of time because the line array is hung in the air. It's flown on the stage. So you're already 20, 25 feet off the ground. So a 10-foot berm is not going to do you any good. But I will tell you that if you have sound in the audience that's between 100 and 105 decibels, which is fairly normal for concert sound for an outdoor show, and know that the term decibel is logarithmic. It's not linear. So you have to keep that in mind. But if you have 105 decibels going out to the crowd with these systems that we have now coming off the backside of that, you would attenuate to where you have maybe 80 to 85 decibels coming off the backside. Well, 85 decibels is normal traffic on Highway 56. Cars going up and down the road generate at least 85 dB. So it's no louder than normal traffic. And that's just, that's the way we've been able to do sound in the last 10, 15 years is where things have really advanced to where we can really control the sound and the leakage from the sides and the back. So
Talk about the sound study that can be done.
Oh yeah, the sound study that can be done. We can bring a system in to the site before anything is ever built. We can set it up on the farm road, which is going to be close to where the amphitheater is going to be sitting, and we can bring in a system. It would be a line array system, but it would be ground stacked because we wouldn't have a stage to hang it from. But we could set it up. We could run recorded music through it at 100 to 105, 110 decibels, and do sound studies around the entire site and just see how much there's going to be over there at that over at the south property line, at the west property line. We can go out there with sound level meters, and I'm not talking the Radio Shack crap. I'm talking real sound level meters. Then you can use A weighting or C weighting or however you want to measure it. But we can do that for a few $100s. You can have a sound contractor come up and do that. Set it all up. We'll fire it up, and we'll do the measurements, and we'll know exactly what that amphitheater is going to produce when it's put in place. And it'll be accurate to within probably 10 dB, because even ground stacked, it's going to be the same amount of sound as when it's flown from the roof system in the amphitheater. So that's something to consider. And, we'll talk with the trustees about that as well. It would be a very small investment to bring a lot of peace of mind to a lot of people involved in this project.
Then the other study, so you have solar, you have view shed, you have sound study, and then the final study would be safety. And Steve brought up the issue concerning fire. We and then someone else, I think Tyler brought up the sheriff. So when we were designing our amphitheater that's 500 people, a 500 seat, we had a sheriff look at safety relative to that site, and he gave us advice on where turnarounds would be and how traffic would, flow, and how foot traffic would flow. And then he also we went to the fire department, and then we had the fire department come out. So Steve Charles came out and he had a look. So and the sheriff and Steve didn't charge anything. Now the Weld County Sheriff, that again, a few $100s, right, would be all that it would take. So what we're saying here is that we believe, just like you're saying, that there should be a recommendation that these studies be done. And they don't have to be done before the final concept plan is done, because Tyler and those guys need to be done. But they do need to be done as part of the construction drawings that will be begun. And they need to guide it. Okay, and the other thing that we need to keep in mind is that when we do the stage, we can put that stage anywhere. I mean, Farmstead asked for it to be facing north or northeast. That's what they asked, and that's one of the reasons it's that way. It turned out to be a good idea relative to the benchmarking, but originally we had it facing a different way. Within that roundness that you guys picked, it can go a little to the left, a little to the right. It can, so that's what we want to know before we start creating construction drawings, right? Okay, so then just to go through the other points, the merchandise tent, it's a little tricky. We need a better merchandise area. And the reason is, think about it, if you've got a national act that wants to step off stage and sell their stuff, and they're not going to walk past a dumpster. I mean, we don't want them to have to walk past a dumpster into it. We want to be careful, and we want to really think about where they can go because if they can easily access people, then they'll go to where they're selling stuff, and people will be able to interact with them. Riders in the Sky will sit there for an hour and sign stuff. And that's what we want for our people. So we want to think, we recommend that the merchandise area be right to the right of the stage. You walk in front of the playground and it's there, and you can buy, and people see people going to buy. It creates this kind of demand. But also, if an artist is there signing stuff, everyone can see it, and then they can escape.
Real quick, Sarah, I just have
Yeah.
to clarify. Keith, I know we stopped someone else on public comment at 3 minutes. Is that, I just wanted to know if that was.
Oh, yeah,
If
didn't
we
know
had
about
to-
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's never been made clear, but you all and the board have asked for their feedback, so.
I just
That's
wanted to make
where-
sure, in
Never-
fairness, we've
Yeah,
never
we've
really
never.
Yeah,
stopped
Steve, do you-
anybody,
We've
but-
never stopped anybody at a port meeting. at
And
least
so I
since
just,
I've
I
been
just
here,
wanted to,
so.
in fairness.
Easy.
I
Do
just
you want to
wanted
get up here and
I
talk
just wanted
more?
to be fair. I didn't want to.
answer questions. You guys just go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
And normally it's pretty informal, and I know that. I just wanted to make sure that, in fairness, that we were doing what's right for everybody.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
I did let them go more than
know.
3 minutes, but
I know.
I tried.
I'm just
I-
making sure that we're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you pretty much get in everything you wanted to say?
Okay. We heard you. Okay. So I'm going to keep going because this is key. I mean, the other thing that we need is, how it says stage 1? Could it say stage 1, stage and green room 1? Or, you see what I'm saying? Just please mention a green room there, because we heard it. Somebody said, does that include a green room?
Well, I asked that because of your comments, Sarah.
Well,
to be
and it's
fair,
really
but-
important, though. What happens is, I get this all the time. Like, we show this to people, and they go, your little green room isn't the green room, is it? You know what I mean? So we need to make sure that people understand that there's 2 green rooms, and that we're going to build a real one, because our little one doesn't suffice. So if we can just make sure the words green room are on that,
Our green room's actually a recording studio.
right,
But it
as you
works.
know. And then let's see. All right, so you know about the restrooms. We all know about that. We know about the turnarounds. And so you're thinking, Tyler, that they're going to turn around in that 100 by 65 foot space.
Yeah.
And then where would a bus park in there? Like, where would a tour bus park?
It could park along one of the edges. I
Okay.
think the whole back of the house, like once we move forward,
Okay.
we'll use the turning radius and start really diving into
Yeah.
some of that.
Okay.
But I think we've allocated enough space that we can get it all to work back there.
Okay.
Grow a little bit or shift.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So you're
The average,
that is a
average
lot.
tour bus is 40 feet long.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Okay. And then here's one thought concerning rideshare. I like the idea of it up on the northeast too, where it comes in, and then you've got that road that is the food truck road, right? There could be a loop, but in the center of the loop, there could be trash central. Meaning a trash truck would back up to whatever that fenced area is and empty, you know? And so, because it's just going to be empty space that sits there. So let's put something in it. And then the trash could be there, and we could have little dumpster maybe backstage, but, or not, you know. One of the funniest photos of Butch is with Baxter Black, who he used to produce, standing next to a dumpster backstage behind the Arvada. And it's just sad because, you know, artists would go out to get a smoke or whatever, and they get accosted. Okay, that's it. Any questions for us?
No, I don't think so right now. It sounds like some of your concerns overlap some of our concerns. And
Yeah.
all good things to
Absolutely.
be looking at and bringing up, and so I appreciate it.
We really have appreciated your all's thought on this because, and the fact that we could actually have you think through this with all of us. And then also I wanted to say that at the farm concert, we're almost full up with volunteers, but we're going to ask that a phone board be available and that people come man it and talk to people about what this design will look like. And it sounds like maybe some folks from WINC will be doing that. And Keith, you're welcome to do that as well. And then you'd be right in the center of the farm concert and you'd see everything, you know, where we would place it. And it would be, I think it'd be kind of fun, you know, to see. So
Plus, you get in for free.
They haven't offered that to anybody else.
Yeah.
So
I know. I was like, are we invited to?
Last thing I wanted to mention is
Any booth there? I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like we could
Yeah.
have a booth.
last thing I wanted to mention. Tyler showed a lot of other venues, the stakeholders that they interviewed, and I just wanted to mention that I performed at virtually all of those venues over the years, and every one of them has its strong points. Everyone has its weak points, and we all deserve and we all have the right to get smarter as we go along. So, you know, I played the Lakewood Center, played the Arvada Center, played the Dillon Amphitheater, the Vail Amphitheater, you know, the Ford Amphitheater, all of those. And they're all great designs, and we can learn from all of them. So great job on interviewing the stakeholders. Good stuff. All right.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No. And so, Keith, from us today, what are you looking for to take back to the board?
If you, you know, you generally approve the master
The
plan.
design?
Yep. And with the amenities shown, that's the big thing to lock down right now.
I got a question on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Tyler, for all the work you did. I think it looks great. What I heard from people was there were a couple of things that maybe would need to get added to the conceptual design. My question is how quickly can that happen, or like, do we want to recommend the board sees this design? Like we talked about, there could be some negatives about seeing a design that might not be accurately reflecting reality. So do we need to get these changes into like a version 2.0 that we can then recommend to the board? Or do we just want to go forward with this design, or like thoughts on that?
I just need. What are those changes you're thinking?
Okay,
of?
so I wrote down updated crosscut with the houses at the correct height, updated with berms, adding mountains on that crosscut, the name of the green room on the stage, and the ride share situation.
and the buffer around.
The berms,
Okay.
or the buffer, yeah.
Is the berm and the trees that you were talking about, is that two separate things, or is that included in buffer? The berm and the trees
Just-
both. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Can't
maybe
figure
I would call that out because
So I don't know how
didn't
long
know
that
those
takes to
numbers.
could that get updated in time for this meeting, Keith, that you have tentatively scheduled, or that's tentatively scheduled for the board?
The easy one was labeling the green room on stage 1. Heard that one.
Done.
I was like, we can get that.
Or I guess the question is like, do we have to rush this? Does this have to happen at the June 23 board meeting, or can we recommend that Wayne goes back, does the updates, and then we make a recommendation to the board in a month or something like that?
So let me go back to those updated crosscut to show the mountains, because we had the same question with Wink. They said they got as close as they could for
the perspective.
of like.
Put it in the section, but we could take a look at that. It's gonna be tough to get that accurate. Like it's gonna be a little bit more of a graphic than anything.
Understood, but I think just having some idea, I mean, you could literally stand on the property and kind of
Yeah.
be able to
Kind of see where it is.
I mean, it does not need to be an exact, like, well, you said it was going to be 3 inches, but I'm just thinking, like, being able to have somewhat of a visual to understand what that's going to look like, and having houses there and having the things that are actually going to be in between that and the mountains, just to understand. I mean, I think that's part of the battle, and I'm sure the Farmstead folks can speak to that, is that it feels like we want, you see this aerial view with beautiful mountains in the background, but what does that actually look like standing on the ground? And would the difference, what differences does the berm and the houses and the trees, what is all that going to make a difference in terms of that? So I just think having that as perspective for them is important. Nothing exact or like architecturally.
We could, the town planner is Tawn and Ann have that study that we did. It's basically from the green room location looking out. So we
It's from where?
from the green room location, like we went up into the field a little bit and then took a picture out and out of the farm. We trespassed. The current green room. So
Okay.
we're this way a little bit, but
Sure.
we have it done already. And the town staff has it.
Yeah, I mean, anything we can do to give them that information, I think is, I mean, I think the hard thing is that if we say, yes, we like this, but with caveats, or how, like, 'cause-
That's what I'm saying is like, can I, sorry.
yep, go ahead,
And then
finish.
just to add to that, I really like the idea of doing all those 4 studies you guys identified. My question is if we recommend something and then the board
study
thinks
shows.
we're getting this, and then these studies come out and like, maybe there's something that's like a key finding that's like, we need to like seriously change this design. Like, I'm just concerned about recommending a design and then doing these studies, and then one of these 4 studies just shows like we need to do a total revamp, and hopefully that doesn't happen, but just, I guess, do we need to do the studies first in order to get a more accurate conceptual design? I mean, I know you guys said just roll with the conceptual, but just trying to figure out, like, 'cause I do think the study should happen. I'm just wondering when, and making sure that
Keith, can I speak to that?
you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm totally in agreement with all those studies. I think we need all of them. And usually, like once we get through with master plan or this concept design, we go into construction documents, and the first phase is typically schematic design. So we're kind of almost starting back where we're at now and retesting. Like, you might not hire us, say, to do the next phase, or when we come in somebody else's master plan, we'll take a look at that plan again and start to reevaluate it and make sure everything's still making sense. And I think during that schematic design phase would be the appropriate time to start doing all those studies. Just right off the bat in that phase, then we just would refine the design through that phase before we went into like true, like full-on construction drawings and documents.
But I think things like getting some idea of what the round, like, circle, rideshare drive, whatever that would look
Oh,
like
yeah.
in that plan, I think that's important.
I think-
too, just
I
I
personally-
think those things will get lost in the
Oh yeah,
bigger
the bigger.
picture as things move forward.
What I heard tonight, Keith, we can incorporate that for the 23rd.
Okay.
I don't know. You've already sent a packet and everything too, so I don't know how that works.
Oh, not for the board meeting yet.
Okay,
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
be
a week before.
a week
Okay.
before. Yeah.
But I heard we can incorporate that.
Okay.
Yeah, those changes into refine this plan and send it to the board.
And then it's just known. We know we want rideshare on the property
Yeah.
somewhere, and then the schematics and everything. They figure it out then. Like, the importance now is like we're locking in. You guys want an amphitheater on the site, right? Those
right,
are the
but
big
it's the
things.
design that we're
Yeah.
saying we like this design, and so I think that having just those things that we're kind of focusing on and wanting, I worry that if sometimes things get lost in translation, and especially in the sense that like we're gonna write a statement and then that's gonna get passed on and then someone else is gonna read it. And I just feel like I just want to make sure that all the things are there.
Gotcha. So, yeah. So, ride share, labeling the green room.
The berms, and then the crosscut with potentially the mountain view, and then the house height being a little more accurate than 25 feet, whatever the one story. And then trash central maybe being with the ride share or something. Question mark.
We have a concern about the merchandise. It's just so key. Like they won't come back. If they don't like what they see. So I don't know.
I guess, does that need to be a permanent structure, or are you thinking, like, what do you
Oh,
do
that's a
now?
permanent structure?
What do you do now? I just wonder what it would be.
Right now it's a 10.
Uh-huh. And that's not enough, or
Does it merch have to be a permanent structure?
No, it could be a pop-up, but there's always a wind problem with that.
sure.
If it's to the east of the barn, that would not be bad.
Right. Yeah, it would be in.
Just having a spot set aside for it, not necessarily that we're adding another structure to the property.
That is a good point, yeah.
That is a-
Our
I thought
merch
that
area is a 10 by 10, two 10 by 10 pop-ups.
Wind is, the reason why I said permanent is I was thinking like it would have a wall to the west because the wind is so horrific out there. But if it's just to the east of the barn, then the barn is protected. If we put our
Yeah.
to the east of the stone
Yeah,
shed,
Yeah.
protect it. Yeah.
and if it's not to the east of the stone shed, all their merch ends up.
It'd be nice for that to have like a butt up against the barn too, just to have them have like their backstock and everything behind them, and so
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't have to butt up, but it would at least be protected by. It could be across the driveway from.
right.
Plus,
Well,
it would be in constant shade, even in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I just don't know that it needs to be permanent. Just having the space there, like noting that this space would be for that, and just not adding another building to the.
The tricky part is a 10-foot berm right there.
Yeah.
But there wouldn't need to be because the barn would protect the venue from the headlights. Except for headlights backstage. But then we could think about that. But there's not gonna be that many headlights because if the barn's in the way,
Yeah.
you turn around.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing the summer concert series, as far as everybody coming in, there aren't gonna be any.
Headlights during that,
The sun's
yeah.
still up.
It's until you leave.
So it's just basically the exit.
Yep.
That would be the issue. And if you park the cars the right direction, there's no headlights
yeah.
going into the neighborhood because the cars are all pointed the other way. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We point all the cars
North.
Okay.
Okay, so if we could just at least think about an area and it doesn't have to be permanent. as it says.
Okay.
I have another question. What are the operating expenses for this park? How is this going to work? I didn't see that on the budget, and that's not surprising. But is that also a study analysis that needs to be done so we actually have an understanding of the true cost of this? Because that's going to play into the town budget too, right? So
Yeah.
is that something we could add as a study? Just like, what does that look like? Like, put together a proposal. What's that going to look like? What are the estimated costs to run Newell Farm Park?
Yeah, those are pro forma studies, I believe. I haven't been part
Or like,
of one.
who's managing this? Who's managing these concerts?
That was one of the things that they mentioned in there. Was that town concerns or town staff concerns? Who's managing and running the?
Yes, is on
Okay.
our list too.
Yeah, that was definitely mentioned in the town staff concerns too.
So I would like to have an understanding of like what the vision is for that, what the idea is, and then how much would it cost to run that, and then maintenance costs and all that other stuff.
And that's two different issues. You guys talked about 501c3, and 501c3 said do the programming and management. And then that's management of shows.
Yep.
And events, and that's doable with 501c3. And then we're talking about management of the actual land, structures,
Yeah, yeah.
operating
Kind of park
costs.
operating costs.
Can I bring up one thing about the tech end of things? 'Cause that's kind of a wheelhouse. As far as sound and lighting, there's two ways to go on that. Yes, you can subcontract it for every show, find a good contractor that you can trust, and do it that way. Pay them, for each show, and just do that in the cost of doing business for the show. Or you can purchase the equipment. Now, let's take Lakewood Center, for instance. They have their own sound system and lights. I hate to say this because I've played it many times. I've also done sound there many times with our own rigs, but their system sucks. It's horrible. And they don't have engineers qualified to run it. And that's a problem. Now, take the Lagoon in Loveland, when they do the summer series at the Lagoon. That system is owned by the city. It's run by the two engineers that run the Rialto. It's a great system. They do a great job, and they own it. They own the sound and the lights. So they set it up every year, and they use it year after year, and they have no costs on that other than, well, they don't have any costs because they pay those engineers anyway. They're all on salary. So there's two ways to look at it. You can either subcontract it, or you can buy good equipment, put good engineers in place, and be done with it. And for a venue like this, where you're only going to do maybe half a dozen shows a year, it probably doesn't pay to have engineers on staff for the city, but it would pay to have a system in place and then just hire the engineers to come in and run it.
You don't think it would be more cost effective to hire a company to?
Excuse me?
You don't think it'd be more cost effective to hire a company to bring in the equipment and be the engineers?
AV can
For,
get
like-
really expensive. I've dealt
It's-
with that.
It depends on the show.
Okay.
And some of the national acts, believe it or not, will bring in their own sound and lights.
Yeah.
Because if it's a touring show and they've hired, somebody like Rat Sound or Shoko or, a contractor that's doing their every stop on the tour, they'll have their own people.
Okay. I just
And
wonder if
that's
initially
already
for,
paid for in the cost of production.
yeah, initially with like 4 shows a year or something like that, if it would make more sense to initially be hiring it out instead of trying to invest in that for those few shows a year while we're kind of figuring out how this looks.
Right. When you first start off, or say half a dozen shows a year, it's probably more cost effective to just retain a company.
Yeah.
And there are a couple,
Okay.
in Denver, 3 companies in Denver that are very, very qualified for sound and lights, that do an excellent job. MFP comes to mind, and I hate to say it. I'm actually involved in that company, but,
Okay.
But the bottom line is you'd start off maybe hiring people and then
Yeah.
get smarter about the way you want it to sound.
yeah,
Sure.
You would know what to purchase and then the people would just come in.
Okay.
yeah. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen the other.
Okay.
Eventually, I think you'd want to have your own stuff,
Sure.
and then just bring in engineers to run it.
Okay.
Was that in the budget that was on that
I don't think so.
presentation? The sound and lighting equipment or the rental fee for that?
The rental fee is not for sure. We have lighting equipment. I don't think we have a lot of sound equipment in that budget.
Is that a significant enough expense that it should be in there if we are talking
Permanent.
about renting or buying it? Because this conversation sounds expensive to me.
Sound, a good sound system for that venue, a good line array system like B&B Acoustics or something along that line, probably $40,000 to $50,000. Lighting, if you do a combination of LED and analog lights, you've got some movers, that type of thing, you're probably thinking $35,000 for the lights.
But you're
And
saying that
that's-
the lighting is,
I believe we have lighting
Included.
should be covered, but we
But
can add the
Not
sound.
lighting for the show.
Yeah, yeah, but lighting for the show is
okay.
yeah.
So I would say, 75,000 would take you up really nice in that venue for 1,500 people. You don't need a Red Rock size system
Sure.
for 1,500 people. So, and once again, you want to contain the sound. You're not out there to melt faces. You're out there to give good quality sound to the 1,500 that's in the yard, and everything else is nice and quiet.
okay, so today what we're doing is talking about recommending the venue as it stands with the changes that we've talked about tonight, which you said will be added. pending the studies that are recommended, which include the solar study, shade.
So I'll
Thank
make a
you.
motion.
Thank you.
Okay. I will make a motion to recommend to the board, pending the changes that we discussed by Wink, the revised design, conceptual design, and then to proceed with the schematic design phase to do, I'm going to recommend 5 studies. You guys can, so solar study, view shed study, sound study, safety study.
Wait, slow down. Solar view shed.
Oh, okay.
Solar safety
Solar study,
view shed.
view shed study,
Yep.
sound study, safety study, and I'm going to call it an operations and maintenance study. The vision for how this will all run.
There you go. Economic feasibility. Love it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Made it
That's what I
sound
meant
nice
to
and
say.
So you're recommending.
Yep,
that the board-
to approve the conception, or that the board approve the conceptual design with those changes, and then proceed with these 5 studies.
I'll second it.
Can I?
Oh.
I know. Are you listing those changes on your notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got them.
The changes or just
The change. So the changes I have, I'll call them out here. So, updating the crosscut with updated height, updated the landscape berms and buffer. I have to put landscaping because I won't remember what it is if I don't do that. Adding mountains on that crosscut, and then adding the green room label to the main stage. Those are the changes.
And then
that-
the ride share,
and then the right shit. Okay.
ride share trash, ride share / trash situation, and merchandise.
Well, what's the change to merchandise?
just delineating what that space is going
Okay.
to be on the
Labeling.
actual, just labeling it.
Okay. And is that the? I'm sorry. I know we have a motion on the table too, but is that the core too of what we want? So actually, I'll pause that. I'll say let's deal with our motion, but I'd appreciate if we could kind of like hammer out like what are the 5 things that we need to say in our like the core of what you care about most in our statement to the board. Unless the motion speaks for it.
I feel like the motion speaks for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second. We vote to carry?
Yes.
I say yes.
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 Michael? Okay. All right. That's our recommendation.
Yeah. Thank you. Any, you email me that?
I sure can. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So we need to remember that Steve said you guys
Okay.
have already done a few.
Should I get Casey out of timeout?
Oh yes, we can get Casey out of timeout. Is she literally like in
Back
a
there.
in a silence tank?
I was gonna say
It
we
probably
should have.
feels like that.
We should have sent her to Hayes or something.
That's not
I
a
know.
nice.
I know. Dang it. Thank you guys for coming.
Oh.
Tim's been good.
Should we have done a traffic study? Or is that
We
They will.
safety? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
part of a safety.
the traffic effects.
Welcome, Casey.
It's warm out here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You said it's warm out here?
Yeah, in comparison to the other room.
Is it like a did he put you in the refrigerator?
Yes.
Oh,
Quite
wow.
literally timeout.
It is
I'm freezing out
cold
here.
She was in the icebox.
Okay, so with that done, we will move on to staff updates.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, Tyler. Great presentation as well. Very good. So, Birthday Day is Saturday. That is put on by the Chamber. That's at Town Park. So, parade and festival take place there. For the Arboretum, staff is bringing that back out based on the board direction. So, at the next board meeting, we have a couple pre-construction contracts. Technically, to work on that price, you have to get the contractor involved and the designer involved with that to bring the price down. So they'll see that. But that would be the next step with the Arboretum as we try to work that price down. Last one for the tour. That's where, if we, like I said, I was trying to set something up with the Adaptive Park. There was a chance it was going to open in May, and then I thought we'd be able to get in there too, but that didn't happen. So I'm kind of waiting. I'll check with them here soon to see what they think, and if they think it's something that's going to happen this summer or not. But if not, July could be a good tour. But if I find out maybe the adaptive park is in August, would you guys want to wait till August? So that's, I guess.
Yeah, can I ask a question on that?
Mhm.
Thank you for responding. I'm trying to get used to my new Outlook, which took me like 30 minutes to figure out, but we're there. So normally we don't have a July meeting, right? And this one would be like over the 4th of July. So could we like agree on a July date that could work for everyone as a backup at this meeting? And then if we go to August, we go to August, or is that what your thoughts are on that?
Well, it's a good point you bring up because you guys do have the choice. If we want to do the July meeting, that'd be July 1st because the 3rd is on Friday.
I'm going to be out of town, so that's why I'm like, if we can.
If you don't want to do the July meeting, because folks have said that's a busy week, it's up to you all. So that can be an option too. I don't.
Okay, so if it could be a tour, but that would make more sense maybe because we may or may not have the adaptive park open by then. Is that what you're saying? To be able to tour it?
Well, it's typically right. I mean, we could do nothing in July, and just say August is the next thing. We could do just a tour. We've always done the tour, which wasn't mandatory, and then we do a meeting after that to kind of wrap it up and meet, talk about it, approve some minutes.
In terms of the Arboretum,
But we
you
don't
said
have to
you're
do that
bringing-
either.
You're bringing the Arboretum back to the board when?
If we start working on it next week with the contractor and designer, I don't think we'd be back by the 23rd. It's possible, but we haven't had.
And we wouldn't necessarily be seeing the plans back, like on July 1st.
No.
Okay,
No, so I think as staff direction is we're going to bring it back to the board
perfect.
with some price evaluations. Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with us not doing the July 1st. I don't think we have any pressing things that we're working on the agenda necessarily that can't be postponed until August. So if everybody's okay with that, unless anybody has anything that they feel like we really need to be working on in July.
I'm okay with it, but if we do a tour in August and then I don't know if I have the stamina for a tour followed by a meeting till like 8 o'clock if we have a significant.
We don't.
We don't usually
Okay.
do a full.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. As long as it's not like a full deal, then yes.
Yeah, typically the store tours, we've started them at like 4:30 or 5, depending on the tour agenda. And then we're back here at 6. We come in here, approve some minutes, and then usually leave. See if there's any public comment, anything like that.
Or if there's anything super pressing that we need to address, but
Well, then really we would be pushing like anything pressing until September.
Sure.
Right, which is a while.
Yeah.
true. How is everyone else able to attend a July 1st meeting? Would it just be one? Well, we have 2 that are out.
I'm going to recommend that if we need a July meeting, Keith, that you send out a doodle poll or something and you just see if there's any dates that align.
Yep.
Works.
Okay.
We can.
Yeah, we can schedule it later in July too. That works. But if there's nothing, there's nothing. So if you don't get anything from me.
Yeah.
We could we don't want to, we could do the tour in a full meeting in August on 2 different days.
Yeah, that's also a possibility too.
We could.
Well, that we could throw that in the pile of like, would you rather have no July
those
to
dates.
August? Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I would rather split it up, have like a tour in July and then the meeting.
Oh yeah,
In
tour
August.
July and then a full meeting in August.
Well, but the park isn't ready in time for a tour in July.
Oh,
That's the,
yeah, that's
Or
right.
might not be,
Well,
correct?
Might not be.
It may or
I'm
may
not
not
gonna-
be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
We don't
August
have a
just
timeline.
tends to be a very busy month for beginning of school activities.
True. So maybe we look at another date in July to do the tour, like later in July, and then that maybe gives the adaptive park a little more time. And I haven't heard an update on what that timeline looks like. or if they have thoughts on that.
I just knew it got pushed, so I haven't. That's why I'll check in on that.
Maybe we tell them that Port's so excited to see it that they should get it done.
I think the thing is, it is done, but it's in a construction site, technically development site. So that's, I think, what's holding it.
Is it finished? It's completed? Because like we went and saw Town Park when it was in construction, and that was we snuck in there. I mean, with permission from town staff.
Right.
You were escorted.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
we were
that's
escorted in.
easier because it's town property. This isn't town property. So.
Oh, you're saying access to the park is under construction, so we can't access.
Well, it's not on town property, so it's managed by other folks that, so they get to decide, I guess so. So I'll look in to that, and I can reach back out. But so maybe a July tour later, or tour later in July, either way.
And plan for the August meeting as scheduled, as a regular meeting.
You guys want to look at July calendars? And like cross off any weeks?
Oh, the last week of July is unavailable.
Same.
I would request we keep it on a Wednesday, and then it doesn't matter to me.
Can we look at the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd as options?
Okay.
15th and 22nd are open for me.
No 8th?
If that's the only date that works for everybody, I can make that work.
I'll be out the 8th.
The 15th and 22nd are our options.
I'll be out the 22nd.
Goodness gracious.
15th.
15th it is.
15th. Anyone? 15th. Does it
Well,
work?
that's when Carolyn and Callie won't be around. But
Really?
no, I'm just joking.
I was like, really?
Oh, no, we just don't know.
I mean, I think we're not going to hit everybody,
Book it.
unfortunately.
Book it. 15th.
I'll
I'm
put it
putting
on my
down the
calendar
15th.
now.
All right, we'll
That's
move
good.
the meeting to July 15th,
For the
The
tour?
tour.
or the tour to July 15th.
Yeah.
The meeting for the tour. That's
But then we're not. But it is. We also will not have a meeting on July 1st.
Correct.
Correct.
right.
Okay, so no
Our
meeting,
July 1st meeting is now July 15th.
and
which
that's
is
a
a
tour.
tour.
With a
And
quick
then in
meeting.
August we'll have a normal regular meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
I do appreciate that. We worked the July 3rd thing, so that's a
You
late
guys are a little
night.
busy that week.
Yeah. I forgot about 2 late nights myself, but that's
Okay.
nice. Okay, so I'll work on a tour for the 15th. Some other properties you guys mentioned. Richardson. I'll have to look back at the video, what you guys mentioned last time, but probably go out to Newell maybe and walk around now that there's a
I think
concept
some
and see.
people hadn't been to Jaskowski. if I
Okay.
remember.
Jessica.
Oh wow, that'd be a good tour. That's great. I forgot. Yeah.
Maybe Town Park Phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the rookery, but then we also but then I think you were like, okay, this is going to be a big tour. I don't know. We make it all. So you probably have to see what we can fit in the time frame.
Okay. I think I got the. Sometimes we just do drive-bys. That's a point and lick. So
Big Ben.
yeah. Okay. So thank you for the tour. And then I'll pass it to Amanda if you have any updates you want to share.
Just a lot going on. It's summertime, so we have Friday night sports series that has started. So if you're interested in joining tournaments on Friday nights, we have adult tournaments going on. So you can choose cornhole, grass volleyball, basketball, wiffle ball, or spike ball. So all of those different options are throughout the summer. So if any of those are of interest to you, those are on our website. We have the birthday market that started can take that $10 and go spend it at a vendor booth. So hopefully we can hoping to get some more revenue to the vendors, and then the town can pick up that tab to support those vendors.
Is that a one-time thing, or is that just the first weekend, or is that a reoccurring thing?
It'll be reoccurring.
Okay.
We have Skatapalooza. That is June 21st. That is the Go Skate Day. So it's a national Go Skate Day. So I don't know if you remember, we used to have the Skatapalooza in April. We moved it now to follow this Go Skate Day. So whatever that day lands on now, we will have it on this day. So that is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's free to attend. So lots of merchandise that these folks give out. So all these vendors that are coming from these skate shops, they give out a ton of free stuff. So if you have kids that are interested in learning to skateboard, it's a great opportunity. And then also Wildfire is involved, and we do the art. There's like a little art project that they can do, and then they can also design their own skateboard. And that design skateboard gets put up in the rec center. So whatever they design, there's 3 different age groups, and we let the public vote on the top 3 of those age groups, and then the rec center takes that and has it actually designed on the skateboard, and then the kids get to keep that skateboard. So it's actually really cool.
That's awesome.
And then Firework Color Run is June 27th. So if you're interested in a 5K or a 1 mile for the younger kiddo, that's June 27th at 9 a.m. And that's the color run. I don't know if you ever run through those where they throw the color at you, and then you get out covered in color. So. And then of course we have 3rd of July. So that will be that Friday. If you have any volunteers that want to volunteer, please send them my way. We're definitely looking for volunteers. So we have added a lot of food trucks, so hopefully we won't have long lines. And then we have our summer camps. Those are all full, which is the first time ever this year. So we have a weekly or 2-week summer camp. Actually, it's all summer, but it goes back and forth from sports to crafts. So they go back and forth, and they're doing all kinds of trips and stuff this year in town. But it's gonna be pretty neat. We'll have a good time. That's all I got.
Okay. All right.
Yep, that's it for staff.
Committee updates?
We are presenting to the board about what we've done over the year next week. What else are we doing? Doing stuff and things. Yeah. And I know that we're going to the conference in November. Is there anything else that I'm missing?
You guys, they are going to be going to nursing homes. They're doing some connections with nursing homes and trying to go in and do some generational connection
Yeah.
to hopefully just do some outreach, if you will. And they'll do their presentation to the board, and then they are also helping with, I don't know if you remember last May, they did their youth summit conference, where Berth had actually put on the first conference where they invited all the other youth committees, commissions, and they came in and we hosted our first conference. And they did a Shark Tank, and they had a speaker, and then we just networked with the other commissions in the Northern Colorado area. So we kind of set the precedence here, and then we're passing that off to the next commission, and then they'll host that commission. So the next one is Greeley, and they're putting theirs on. It's supposed to be in August. I think it's August 15th. Is their set date for now. That may change, and they may push that back a little bit, but that's their set date for now. So they've asked us to come and help them with some tips and tricks, and so we'll walk them through that, what we did, and try to help them along and give them some guidance through the summer, and then help them with their conference in August. That's what.
Right.
And our new year starts in August, so we'll
Carrie?
Nothing from me.
Nada.
I'm good. Well, other than there's like a family of elk that live in the bike park, I think.
Oh, nice. They're over there now?
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Cool.
They're all over the place, but it's very cool. They walk down the little road, and it's kind of fun to see them. So you can see them out there.
Right there.
Well, the water, and then there's an apple orchard just as you go into the bike
Oh,
park
yeah.
on the east side of the road, and so they are
Oh,
frequenting
yes.
that. But it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
See them back there in the bike park, hanging out.
I know.
Coyotes back there too.
I hear them
Yeah, Wilhelmina has made friends.
with coyotes. Fabulous. All right, Eleanor.
I actually have a couple of things. One, I was really glad to see all the public comment on the Arboretum, and so if anybody's listening and turned out for that, thank you. The second thing I wanted to mention is that the gossip in the birding groups is that the eagle nest fell down on the other side of 287. And I wanted to mention that because I remember that eagle's nest was, that there was something with that eagle habitat, and so I'm just mentioning it to you because the eagles may have unfortunately lost their habitat. So,
Are we talking the golden eagle?
That one's further north.
is it? Okay.
The golden eagle is above
Okay.
Iron Lakes. This one is the one that's
I think this one's the one
Mountain
straight across from the
287,
bike
it's-
park.
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
On it's on that farm property
Okay.
in that cluster of trees. Yeah.
All right. So never mind. It wasn't the helpful eagle's nest to go. Although I'm really like save the eagles. You know, I'm not anti-eagle. Just you know, if it happened, it would be, we could do different things. And then the last thing that I want to mention, and I'm sorry for this, and I'm sorry that it's happening when Tyler from Wenk is here again, but on the golf cart front, I just, the next time that we have a conversation about e-bikes and mini bikes on sidewalks, I think that we need to bring golf carts into the conversation as well. And to anybody out there listening, there's a lot of respectful golf cart drivers out there, and I thank those folks, but at Wagner, I mean, it's like people are shortcutting through those sidewalks, like in the mornings to get to downtown and things like that, which is, I don't really have that's fine. But like I'll be walking my dog and, have to kind of either hop off to get out of their way, or I watched one time, like on one of those really muddy, like squishy days, I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna come into my path, so I'm gonna have to do my thing, like, and they didn't. They just went straight through the mud, and I just like watched the track, and I was like, oh man, I'm sure that's terrible for the lawn. So, I think that we may need some education about responsible golf carting, and I just wanted to raise that if we have a discussion about kind of motorized uses on sidewalks and trails, I think that we should bring that into the conversation as well, because it's kind of focused on e-bikes and mini bikes so far in my experience. So, and that's it.
So
And
you're saying golf carts are being used on trails?
yes,
Okay.
yes, they're being used on trails, and then they're also cutting through sports fields to not be on the trails when people are on the trails.
Okay.
And then just generally, like going to events, I mean, we talked about it with Newell Farm, but going to events, I mean, often there's a little corner that attracts one golf cart to park there, and then another one, and then all of a sudden a pedestrian can't get through because there's 3 golf carts on the sidewalk. And so, like I said, there's a lot of responsible golf carters out there, but there are some golf carters who don't have the best, share the sidewalk etiquette.
Situational awareness.
Yeah. So that's the end of my golf cart soapbox for the day.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Got nothing.
Casey, anything from
Yeah,
the board?
I do. So I'll just kind of expand on what Keith was saying about the Arboretum discussion. There were the presentation from the tree committee. You guys, I think, helped contribute to that as well. The presentation was wonderful. There was a lot of great, just great information that was presented all around. We had a lot of public comments from folks, their thoughts and opinions on the Arboretum and, what they thought about moving forward with that. Ultimately, the board, after we were, all discussing, I had brought up the question, to the board members who were part of that vote, because we had several new board members that weren't part of that conversation, to ask, what was the reasoning behind the motion that was made that night that then was seconded and approved. What came out of that discussion was there was a financial concern, essentially, about the the arboretum itself and the cost, and that the cost came back higher than what was originally budgeted for. All in all, between all the board members, the question was then posed, can we let town staff continue to work with the contractors to value engineer the arboretum, and come back with what those options are, and keep it there. So we couldn't repeal the pause on the funding to 2023, but we did have a motion to allow town staff to keep working with the construction firm, value engineer, and reevaluate the costs once those come back.
So the money's still budgeted. It still exists.
The money
It's
still
just-
exists,
Okay.
and it's still budgeted. It hasn't been reallocated anywhere. That has to go to a board vote. But the money for the arboretum is currently sitting in the capital project 60 fund. And yeah, the only way for it to be moved anywhere else would be a majority vote.
But the money that's there is not as much as what the bid is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. That was the biggest piece.
All right. Is that it from the board? Okay. Can I get a motion to, if that's it, I get a motion to adjourn the meeting
So moved.
and seconded?